Okay, so up until now we've discussed how to solve quadratic equations. That was the previous section. In this section we're going to talk about different types of equations and solving other types of equations. Okay, so first we'll start by, in this video, we're going to have a few examples where we can solve by factoring. So factoring, what do? You look for commonalities between terms and see if there's anything that you can pull out amongst several terms. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do to start this one is set one side of the equation equal to 0. So let's see, I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. I'm going to add 2x squared to both sides, so that way I'll have 0 on the right hand side. Now, if I look at each of these terms, one thing I noticed in all these terms, they all involve an x. So one thing I can do is I can pull out an x. I'll be left with x to the third here, because x times x to the third is x to the fourth. I'll be left with 3x squared. I'll be left with 6. And I'll be left with 2x. Okay? So now I'm going to see, let's see, is there anything else that I can pull out, or any commonalities between some of the terms here? Well, if I look at these terms, there is an x squared that's common between them. And if I look at these terms, there's a 2 that's common between them. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out those things. So I'm going to pull out an x squared here, and I'll be left with an x minus 3. And then for this side, I'm going to pull out a 2, so I'll be left with a, that should be plus, I'll be left with a negative 3 plus x. Right? Now, I could rewrite this one a little differently. I could rewrite it as so let's see, x minus 3 plus 2. Now see, negative 3 plus x is the same thing as x minus 3. Just kind of rearranged it. Okay, so now this term and this term are the same, so I can factor that out as well. So I'll be left with x squared plus 2, okay, that's coming from this x squared plus 2, and then this red term is getting pulled out. Okay, so it's x minus 3 is getting pulled out. Alright, so now I have factored this completely, and the next step is going to be if any of those terms are equal to 0, the whole thing will equal 0. So let's just go ahead and break that down. So if x equals 0, that's the solution. If x squared plus 2 equals 0, there's a solution. And if x minus 3 equals 0, there's a solution. So x equals 0, that's the solution. Alright, that one's done. This one, I maybe subtract 2 from both sides. So I'm left with x equals, x squared equals negative, I didn't mean to write 4 there. Subtract 2 from both sides. So x squared equals negative 2. Okay, and of course, you can't solve that, right? There is no value of x that I can plug in and get or there's no value of x that I can say, okay, square, and then you get a negative number, right? So this one, you'd say no solution. Okay, last one, we have x minus, you add 3 to both sides to get x by itself. So x equals 3. Okay, so my solutions then are 0 and 3. That's my solution set. Okay, one more example. We have, let's see what we have here. I'm going to go ahead and start this the same way as I started the other one, where I bring everything over to one side. Alright, and I see what's common amongst the terms and see if there's anything I can pull out. There's a 3, and then also an x squared, right? And what will I be left with here? So if I took out a 3 and an x squared, I'll be left with just 2 of the x's, right? Because 3 times x squared is going to equal this 3x to the fourth, minus and then 4, right? 3 times 4 is 12. And then 3x squared times 4 is 12x squared, so just 4 there. Okay, so that equals 0. Alright, so now if I set both of the terms equal to 0, so I'll have 3x squared equals 0. If I were to divide both sides by 3, I'd get x squared equals 0. And if I were to take the square root of 0, it's 0. Alright, then over here, x squared minus 4 equals 0. X squared equals 4 if I add 4 to both sides of the equation. And then if I were to take the square root, it's plus or minus, right? Positive or negative 2 would be a solution. Okay? Because negative 2 squared is 4, 2 squared is 4. So both those are solutions. So my solution set is negative 2, comma 0, comma 2. Okay, and there's my solution set.